Are you 18, 33, 50, 80, 90? Do you have a will? Do you have lasting powers of attorney put into place? A lot of you, I'm willing to bet, do not. No matter what your age is, stick around. This is going to be a very important lecture on vegan feminism of death and dying. Wake up! We're still alive. Hello, welcome to the channel. My name is Dr. Corey Wren. I'm a vegan sociologist and a vegan feminist. Today's topic is going to be a bit morbid. Or not, just maybe realistic. One of the things about being a vegan is that we are always thinking about death. You're not thinking about death, I hope. No? Okay, good. But as humans, we are, but especially as vegans, we are. So in this video, I wanted to talk a little bit about a vegan feminist perspective on death and dying. And maybe you can hear it. It's really the time to be recording this because it's like pouring down rain. Mishka's deaf, but she can see the rain coming down. One of the things I've learned through my research is that the longer that we are vegan, the more difficult it becomes to grapple with the nasty emotions really that come along with being aware of what happens to non-human animals. And one of the major words that came up, actually, I wasn't really expecting this until I did my analysis of a recent study. But one of the words that came up over and over was this word traumatized or traumatic or trauma. And another word that came up quite a lot, and I think there's a relationship here, was helpless. And one thing that we know through trauma is that one of the reasons we can feel traumatized or become traumatized is witnessing or experiencing something that is really horrible, but also paired with this notion of, I am not, or don't feel like that I am in a position to do anything about this. I feel helpless, in other words. That is just the story of being a vegan, isn't it? So we can dedicate our lives, like I have, to trying to make the world a better place for animals. We can adopt animals in our home. Looks like Mishka, sweetest Mishka. Oh. We can be vegan. We can do all these things. We can donate to charities. We can volunteer for charities. We can protest, etc., etc. But at the end of the day, we really are quite powerless on physical interventions against animal suffering and death. And there's really only so much we can do in our limited time in a day and our limited time on Earth. And so no matter how much we do, how much we achieve, how much we contribute, and how much we dedicate, at the end of the day, we were going to still be left with these residual feelings of, I'm not doing enough, and feeling quite traumatized because of the things we see, experience firsthand, secondhand, that can really, really take a toll on our mental health. So one of the things that I have been thinking about later in my career is, how do we negotiate this reality? Because a lot of the research, I think, focuses quite a lot on short-term vegans, short-term activists, not necessarily those who are going to leave the movement, but those who've just kind of come into the movement. People like myself who've been vegan for 25 years and doing animal rights as long as they can remember. I don't think we show up in the research as much. And maybe that has to do with, this is a age thing where I'm a millennial, and now more millennials are easier to get in touch with because we're all on the digital platforms. But whatever the case is, I think we need to start spending more time thinking about prioritizing our mental health. And one of the things that I have been doing is thinking a little bit more realistically about death. So this is what sparked this today. This is our book club reading for the day. Even Vegans Die. And gosh, I don't know what inspired me to buy this book. I've known about it since it's come out. It's written by Carol Adams, and it's co-authored with Patty Breitman and Virginia Messina, who is a doctor. And basically, they're coming at it with a vegan feminist perspective. Everybody dies. Everybody gets old. Everybody ages. Hopefully, people get disabled. That's a normal part of the human experience. But because the vegan movement has historically not wanted to come to grips with that, it creates a really toxic situation. So I've already set up the context here where we have a lot of people who are highly empathetic, who are dealing with a lot of traumatic information and just trying to get by day to day when they're probably dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder, if not firsthand and secondary. And we're dealing with that. And then we're also dealing with the fact that the animal rights movement is so committed to portraying veganism as the cure-all for everything. You can cure every disease, you can end every illness, you can stop aging, you can prevent wrinkles, you can prevent disabilities, blah, 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 blah. You can live 1,000,000 trillion years. And there is a lot of science that backs up some of that to an extent. Like we do know that certain diseases are reduced, that some particular ailments associated with certain disabilities can be reduced, et cetera, et cetera. And then, yeah, we do live longer on average. However, we're still going to die. We're still going to die. Oh no. Oh no. Okay, but that's the reality. And we know that's the reality. We deal with death every day when we're doing our animal activism. So one of the things I wanted to do in this video then was to sort of open up that conversation. It's important to start talking about these topics. I do sometimes feel quite morbid amongst my friends and family just because I'm constantly talking about this stuff because I do vegan work. But now more recently, I think, let's be honest, one of the reasons I think is after I've turned 40, I realized I needed to get my little vegan ducks in a row. And maybe it seemed a bit morbid to you guys and to my friends and family, but I think it's actually quite a healthy thing to do because everybody does. And the more we can talk about it openly, the more we can live, we can reduce our anxiety about it. We can live our lives the way we want to live them and feel confident no matter what life throws at us. We're as prepared as we can be, and we have the support of family and friends who are clued up and in the know. So what I wanted to then offer you guys is, first off, this book is an easy read. You can read this in a day if you wanted to. You can pick it up and put it down. I would suggest keeping it. It's a really good reference book. So it takes you through all the different steps that you would need to really prepare for dying, your own death or people who are around you. I have maybe an unusual experience as by the time I was in my mid-20s, I'd already had lots of major deaths in my life. And by the time I hit 30, I'd really had a lot of major close deaths in my life. So it's also something that I've been open about and thinking about just because that's my own lived experience. I've had lots of family members and close friends die. But the trick is here, you guys, is that it's a different story when it comes to vegans. This is where my journey really began. I turned 40 and, okay, time to get my little vegan ducks in a row. But I could put it off, I suppose. But the thing that really caused me concern was the fact that I'm vegan. And what if something happened to me and I'm not around anymore? And there's Mishka is, look at this face. This precious little dog was just left to the whims of whoever's left after me. I can't have that. So the very first thing that I did was I got a will. And the wills might sound overwhelming and scary, but actually you can get a will free from lots of different animal charities. The idea is if they're offering you this free will service, well, maybe won't you leave a little bit of money for us? So I think that would be kind of chip in a little bit of money towards the organization that's trying to fundraise doing the wills. But anyway, it's accessible to do wills for free nowadays. And after I did the will, it goes to an actual human person who looks at it and then responds with some clarifications and reminders and things. So it's not just in the void and nobody looks at it. So actually a professional will take a look at it. So what I needed to do was make sure that my animals would be taken care of. I also needed to make sure that if there was any kind of celebration of life for me or funeral, like this is what I want done. You better not have any dead animals at my funeral. My ghost will be back with a vengeance. We don't want a haunting by Dr. Corey Wren. The wrath of 1,000 angry vegans who came before me will be in my army of ghosts. Also, for people who want to pay their condolences, don't bring me flowers. I'm dead. I can't appreciate those. My family might appreciate them, but guess what? It's my funeral and I get what I want. I would prefer actually people donate to a vegan charity of my choice. And also I ask for people who want to respect my memory to go vegan. She's kicking my microphone. To go vegan, right? Or to adopt an animal, preferably do all of these things. So that is all put into place so that no matter what happens, when lightning strikes me and I fall dead from this earth, my animals are taken care of, my funeral will be vegan, and my last wishes are, can you please maybe go vegan too? And let's reduce some of the suffering. So lots of different things that you can be thinking about when it comes to will. And by the way, there's a wonderful organization called vegetarianforlife.co.uk that can help you think about some of these things. And of course, this book, Even Vegans Die, talks about some of those things. Like, where's all your money going to go if you're lucky enough to have any money when you die? Your retirement, all these things. So all of my retirements are set up to go to my charity of choice. And also in my will, all of my money is going to my charity of choice, charities of choice, mostly one. And you also need to clarify, as much as I'd love to treat all my family members when I'm dead, I'd much rather that my money goes to animals after I die. But you need to clarify in your will if you're going to do that, because it can be contested. People might think you're not of sound mind, not leaving any money to your family. And we know how vegans are treated, right? We're always thought not to be sound of mind by putting our ethics first. So step 1, do your will. Step 2, you need to put together a lasting power of attorney. And if you're like me, I had no idea what the heck that was until recently. I can't remember where I came across it, but I think it's all part of the turning 40 process. And I just started like paying attention to these things. Basically, a lasting power of attorney, at least in the United Kingdom, there's 2. There's also 2 in the United States. I forget what they're called, but they come down to 2 categories, and you have to do 2 different forms and pay 2 different fees, unfortunately. But the first one that you need to put together is one for your health and welfare. So it's one thing to say I have all of my vegan ducks in a row when I'm dead as a doornail and here's the plan of action. But what if I get struck by lightning and I survive and I am no longer able to take care of myself? Maybe not even able to communicate. Well, thankfully, Corey, back in 2025, put together a lasting power of attorney so that I can speak to people who are working on my behalf about what my wishes are. Now, this is extremely important for vegans. So most people would put this together, and actually I'd say the average person doesn't even think to put this together, although you should, because we never know what can happen to any of us, and we want to make sure our wishes are honored, but especially for vegans, because what can happen? What if we're putting to a care home and our carers are feeding us meat? Yuck. What if, okay, they get it that I'm vegan, but then there's Gertrude's birthday, her 85th birthday down the hall, and everybody comes together and we get birthday cake. I don't get any. Corey got struck by lightning, can't speak for herself, is being fed non-vegan birthday cake. Well, that's not good. I don't want that either. Or they're buying shower products or shower and bathing toiletry products for me that are tested on animals and have animal products in them. I don't want that either. But somebody needs to tell them. And I can't rely on, whoever may be around to vouch for me. Like if it were, for instance, if one of my brothers, it would fall on my brothers. I don't know if my brother would understand all that. He's not a vegan. So I put this together. And again, you can find resources. This is a really good one, but also vegetariansforlife.co.uk. But there's also non-vegan resources out there that can help you think about what you might want to consider. Like I've even put in my my document. I've even put in my document, please don't bring therapy animals to me. I think it's extremely unethical when people load up their animals onto trucks or whatever to bring them to nursing homes, care homes, and then shove them in people's faces and make them do things. That to me is not very vegan, and I don't want that to happen to me. Instead, I've asked if I can stay at home in my own home as long as possible. I prefer to do that so that I can have my pets around me. And if I do have to go to a care home for some reason, only bring my own animals to come and see me if it's okay for them to do so. Like Mishka would be fine. Mishka would love that day. It would be a lovely day out, wouldn't it, madam? Yes, it would. She's got schmutz on her face. It would be a lovely day out for Mishka. My cats, on the other hand, please don't shove them in a box to put them in a car and bring them to come see me. They would hate that. So that's what I put in my lasting power of attorney wishes. So how this works is simply that you designate your powers, who will have your powers of attorney. So for me, I have my mother, but my mother, being 30 years older than me, will probably not be around when this comes into play. So I've put my current partner. Well, who knows what happens in life? My partner may not be my partner in 30 years. So I've also put my very best friend on there who, and this is important, is a committed vegan. And I would trust her to make sure that all the vegan stuff would be taken care of. So even if for some reason something happens to me tomorrow, and then all 3 of those people, my best friend, my partner, and my mother, have to collaborate, there's someone on the team there who can say, like, well, I live with her. This is what I know she likes. And then there's someone on there who say, well, I raised her. I know what she needs. And then there's someone on there who's like, I'm a vegan and I know what's important here. So those people can work together on a team. So this is a great peace of mind, isn't it? You don't have to worry if something were to happen. You'll always have this government document here. It says this is what needs to happen. Do not feed or meat. Do not bring in therapy animals, etc., etc. The other one that you can look into, and I've not done this yet, but I do want to do this soon, is a legal version of that very same process. And basically all that has to do, or a financial version, legal financial property one, that has to do with your money. So if something were to happen to me, my partner, for instance, would not have enough money to put me in some care home that's so expensive, blah, blah, blah. But maybe I'm 80 years old and I've won the lottery and I've got all this money in my account. And he could access that to use to pay for my care if he's listed in this lasting power of attorney, the financial one. No matter what your age is, you need to do a lasting power of attorney with regard to your finances, because you never know what's going to happen. Because if you don't do that, it's a much longer process for people to access your money in order to take care of you as you need. But again, you need to be careful as a vegan here, because you want to make sure that your money is not going to non-vegan stuff. So that's basically the gist of this video, is that death and dying is not fun to think about, but we have to think about it. It's a reality of life. And we need to think about, where's our money going to go? Is it going to go to charities, or is it going to go to somebody who's going to spend it on meat? Or are they going to be feeding you meat in the care home? Or are they going to be dumping your dog and cat off at a shelter somewhere to get euthanized because you didn't make any accommodations for them? You also need to be thinking about, do you want to take medications? Do you want to, say you have a heart attack, do you want to have a pig's heart valve put in place of your own valve? I can't tell you what to do there. I've made my decisions on those types of things, but you have to make these accommodations clear, or otherwise they'll just default to speciesism. So you have to be very honest about how you feel comfortable and how you don't. Maybe it is important to you that you go through with getting some kind of skin graft that came from a pig so that you can continue helping animals, and maybe that makes you feel extremely uncomfortable. What about what happens to your body after you die? I'd always planned on getting cremated, but now after reading this, maybe not so great for the environment, so I might have to reconsider that. I wanted to add a little bit of a feminist spin before I wrap up here. Marty Keel has written quite a bit about this. Marty Keel is one of these vegans who somehow managed to die. I can't believe it, vegans dying. But Marty Keel, unfortunately, did die quite young of cancer. And she was a trained alternative medicine therapist. And the type of cancer that she had was very progressive. She really probably couldn't do much with traditional science anyway to intervene. But some people have considered, well, what about homeopathic alternative approaches to maybe not cure, but to make people feel better? So I've put that, for instance, in my power of attorney wishes. Said, okay, and I'm not saying I don't want any medication or any kind of treatments or surgeries or whatever, but can you please also add in some things that might make me feel better that maybe aren't recognized by traditional science, like aromatherapy or massage, etc. The last thing I want to say, the feminist approach here, Marty Keel pushes quite a bit, is that we can't take this very paternalistic, machoistic approach to, I will conquer death, I will conquer disability, I will conquer illness. There's also a really amazing book that I recommend called Rape of the Wild by Andre Collard. And she has a whole chapter, I think it's chapter 2, on the sort of ideology of vivisection. And a lot of it, she points out, is premised on this patriarchal idea that we can conquer death, we can conquer aging, we can conquer everything that nature throws our way and be the ultimate victor. But that's not the reality. One thing feminism does offer us is this idea that we are part of this greater ecosystem. And the ecosystem brings with it life and death, growth and decay. We're part of that, and we have to accept that. And maybe if we do accept that, we could enjoy the time that we have more consciously and not spend so much of our time inflicting violence on other animals and causing ourselves all kinds of stress and strife and trying to conquer everything. This is not to say I'm against researching into certain things, but I am extremely critical of vivisection, which we know is bad science and has really prolonged a lot of illness and disability that we could have gotten rid of ages ago if we just switched to non-animal technology to do that. So I will leave it there. So this is the vegan feminist take on dying and death. You know, caregiving, by the way, is also a big part of this. I didn't even get into that. And caregiving is a major part of the feminist experience of animal rights and veganism. But when we're looking at death and dying, obviously that's highly feminized as well, caregiving for sick and dying people. But the feminist take really is that we need to accept life comes with death. and be proactive about that. And I think being open about it, being proactive about it, being real about the psychological toll that this takes on us can help us to live more consciously. And putting some plans into place will give us at least a bit of peace of mind that no matter what happens, our little buddies are going to be okay, and no one's feeding us meat in the care home. Thanks, everybody. Let me know what you think.